Hey guys, welcome to the channel. So today's video, I'm going to show you how to replace the alternator as well as the serpentine belt on my 2010 Toyota Corolla. This is also for the 2009 to 2013 body style, and it has the 1.8 liter 4-cylinder. So let's go ahead and get started, but first let's go ahead and check out the new parts. So I actually have links in the description down below for Amazon where I actually picked these up. So we have the Goodyear serpentine belt, and it's actually specifically for this car. And then here's the alternator, which is also for the Toyota Corolla. So there's, like I said, there's gonna be links in the description down below for these, and also some of the other tools you're gonna need, especially like a socket set, and some other tools are gonna be linked down below in case you ever wanna pick some up for other projects. But this thing looks so nice. I'm so excited to be able to put this in, as well as this new serpentine belt. But let's go ahead and get started with the process. All right, so to start off this process, we're gonna go ahead and remove the engine cover. There's actually 4 different connection points, and it literally just lifts straight up. So you're gonna go ahead and grab the edge, and it just pops right up out of place. There we go. And then we're gonna go ahead and just set this aside. All right, so right here you can actually see the alternator. There's a tensioner right here, and then there's a couple different plugs. So before we get started with removing this, we're actually gonna have to unhook the battery. All right, so for removing the battery, I went ahead and unplugged it from the negative side and kind of pushed the wire back over here out of the way. And now we can move back over to the alternator. So when it comes to unplugging these, we're not gonna have to worry about the battery being connected. So first off, there's this little plastic cover right here that we're gonna have to actually lift up. So, oh, that was actually super easy. It just barely lifted up, and it came right off. So you can see right here, it looks like we have a 10 millimeter. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo that. And it's actually kind of hand tight at this point. So let me go ahead and take that off and carefully set this somewhere safe. All right, so now we can go ahead and pull that plug off. And then right here, we have another plug. And on the kind of right side over here, there's a little button. So we're gonna push down on that little lever and then pop this plug off. Trying to get it so you guys can still see. And there we go. So now we got both of those plugs off. We're just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna tuck them kind of down and out of the way. All right, so then there's this little bracket right here. So the wires actually connect to this little metal piece with the bolt. So the plastic base of it, there's a little lever on the front side on kind of when you're looking at it on your right. So you actually lift up on the little plastic lever. And once you kind of lift up on it, then the whole thing just slides straight off. So if I lift it up on the tab, slid it off, and then it kind of pulls off of here. So now we can go ahead and kind of break those wires free. Just kind of move that down out of the way. So now you can kind of see like that little metal clip that's kind of sticking out here. So now we can go ahead and proceed with taking off the 2 main bolts that hold the alternator on. All right, so then we're gonna have a, right underneath, because this is actually the tensioner, so right underneath here where my thumb is, there's going to be a 12 millimeter bolt, and we're gonna go ahead and remove that one, as well as right down below. Let me see if I can kind of get this up. Let me get my wrench on it so you can kind of see where it's at, and then kind of move the camera so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so right there should be a bolt kind of right on kind of where the socket is, and that's gonna be a 14 millimeter, and it's located on the bottom of the alternator. So we're gonna go ahead and kind of loosen that one as well. And this one's really on there kind of firm, so. All right, so I've been kind of pulling this off, and I noticed the whole thing actually kind of was turning. So you can kind of see it, how it's turning a bit. And it's because there's still tension right here on the belt, kind of pulling on the alternator. And now since it's a little loose, it's kind of turning the whole thing a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to the top and kind of loosen that and take that all the way out. And that actually pulls it off of the tensioner. All right, so now we went ahead and got that bolt removed. As you saw, the alternator just kind of fell out of place. So we're gonna go ahead and carefully kind of set this bolt aside. And as you can see, the alternator kind of fell down. And we do want to go ahead and pull off the belt since we are replacing that as well. Just keep in mind kind of where the belt is attached to, because as we go through and actually pull this belt off, you want to see kind of how it's twisted around through all the gears. But kind of like the rule of thumb is when you see like these ridges right here, the belt is actually going to have those ridges in those little grooves. And on the wheels that are like nice and smooth, that's actually going to be the back side of the belt. So there's one right below here that's actually the smooth side. And then all the other ones are kind of like the rib design. But we're going to go ahead and just kind of pull the belt off of here. You can let it kind of sit aside for now until we get the alternator out, and then it'll be a little bit easier to get the belt reworked. But I'm gonna go back down now and kind of finish taking out that bottom bolt. Because since the top one is out, now the whole thing's kind of pivoting on that bottom bolt. So now let me just go ahead, go down here and remove it the rest of the way. All right, so I think we actually have it at the point, yep, where it's hand tight. So now we're just gonna go ahead and loosen that and pull it out. All right, so there we are. That right there is the bolt that goes into the bottom of the alternator. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that aside. And the alternator is now completely free. So in order to get it out, we're gonna have to remove, or at least like raise out of the way, the tensioner. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is, let's see, on this back side, it's a 12 millimeter. We're gonna go ahead and loosen it from up here. And then we can actually kind of move it up out of the way. Might actually need a smaller socket because I am hitting right here. So let me go ahead and swap this out. And this is where having like a big socket set is really helpful, because now you can see right here we have plenty of room. Wow, that bolt is really stuck on there. So might actually have to use a breaker bar to kind of pop that loose. All right, so sometimes it's actually easier to use like a little mallet. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this back on here, and then just gonna use a little mallet to kind of pop it loose. There we go, just kind of turn in a little bit. All right, there we go. So now as I kind of turn it, you can see the whole tensioner kind of raise up. So it's actually all we need. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside. And now we can go ahead and reach down in here and pull out the alternator. So just kind of be careful with all the different hoses and everything else kind of in the area, because you don't want to accidentally damage something just trying to get this thing out of here. All right, so now we have the alternator out. All right, so this difference is absolutely insane, how much dirtier and crazier this is. And you can even see a lot of the residue from what looks like the belt, where it's been just kind of shredded over the years. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and remove this little bracket. There's obviously a little 10 millimeter bolt, so we're just gonna go ahead and pop that off. We're gonna stick it right here on the new one. But man, this looks amazing how much better this one is. But also right here, the connection that goes to the battery, it does come with a new nut. So we're gonna go ahead and remove that before we get it in the engine, because once we set it in the engine bay, we wanna be able just to pop that plug right on and then put the new little nut back on there. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and remove this, put it onto this one, and then we can go ahead and stick it in the car. All right, so before we put the new alternator in, we're going to go ahead and do the serpentine belt as well. So I got the new one sitting right here. So let's go ahead and pull the old one out, which is going to just kind of pop right off of all those. And now you can just kind of pull it up and out. And then obviously before I do anything with that, I do want to pull the new one out of the package. And I know it says it's made for this car, but it's always safe to go ahead and just kind of hold them up side by side to make sure that they are the same length. And which they are, you can see there, right there, they're the same length, and this one's actually really worn out. The back edge of that looks really rough. There's like kind of like gouges in it, and yeah, that one looks pretty worn. So now we got the nice brand new one, heavy duty. It's from Goodyear, and we can go ahead and hook this on. I would suggest it is a lot easier to kind of hook it in the back first, just because it is kind of like the furthest away, and you might be able to reach back here, kind of behind. Kind of like the engine mount. Maybe you can grab it, and that might allow you to be able to hook it on a lot easier in the back corner. All right, so I went ahead and it's all hooked up. So now I'm kind of holding it in place, kind of giving it tension just to make sure that it's all kind of aligned properly. And which in the back it is, and down below it's all hooked on. Everything looks good. So now we're going to go ahead and just kind of leave it sitting like right here, just kind of loose, because once we put the alternator in, then we're going to kind of hook the alternator through that and then kind of put it into place. All right, so I went ahead and grabbed the new alternator. So we're going to go ahead, and I did get that little bracket put on, as you can see. So let's kind of wedge this down into here and try to maneuver it into place. All righty. And now I'm going to go ahead and put that new belt around the end of the alternator. All right, let's kind of rotate it up into place. Alrighty. And while we're kind of sitting right here before there's like tension on the belt, I am going to go ahead and grab that bolt and put it through the bottom, just so that's already kind of held in place. I'm just going to get it kind of hand tight for now. All right, so then I went ahead and kind of got the threads in just a little bit on that far side. So now we're going to go ahead and bring the tensioner back down. There we go. We're going to loosen the tensioner, kind of gauge the distance here, or you can even measure it. But for me, this little piece is just past the metal, so I kind of have like an easy reference point. I'm going to go ahead and essentially unscrew this and kind of get it all the way to be on the front side. So then whenever we put the bolt in, we can go ahead and tighten everything into place and it'll be exactly where it needs to be. All right, so now we have the tensioner kind of adjusted where it's in the all the way kind of forward position. We're going to go ahead and take that bolt through there, and then we're going to try to hook it into the top of the alternator. So we're going to go ahead and lift that up into place. I actually need to get it just a little bit further, but I don't really have the leverage. So I actually have a pry bar here, so I'm going to try to get the pry bar just on the top side so I can be able to get it just far enough to be able to hook the bolt through. All right, so now we got that bolt in there. We can go ahead and use the ratchet and tighten it all the way down. We don't want to make it super tight because it still needs to travel back into place, so we at least want to make it a little snug. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and adjust this bolt right here, and it should actually pull the alternator back up into place. So that's also going to be a 12 millimeter. All right, so now we kind of have it in place. So now let me just go ahead and feel it. So that did feel about kind of like what the tension was like before. Feels nice and solid, and everything looks good. So we're going to go ahead and go down and tighten the bottom bolt all the way, and then tighten that top bolt all the way. All right, so now that we have the alternator in place, we got the top and bottom bolt bolted in, and we got nice tension on the belt. What we're going to do is go ahead and take the wires and hook them back up into place. So I suggest hooking up that little bracket down below first. So you're going to go ahead and just slide it back onto the little metal piece. And that'll just slide in place and just hook right in. And now we can go ahead and take the plug that right back in. Let's go ahead and do that right there. Clipped into place. Now we can go ahead and take that little mount that goes on from the battery, and we're going to go ahead and take the new little nut that came with, and I'm going to go ahead and just stick it inside the socket so it doesn't fall anywhere, and then we can just go ahead and tighten that into place. And then once that's snug, we're going to go ahead and tighten it down. All right, and then once it's tightened down, we're just going to take the little plastic cover and just kind of pop it right back onto the little base piece. So just like that, the alternator and serpentine belt are replaced, and they look amazing. Man, that alternator looks absolutely crazy sitting there in the engine bay, and how clean it is. And it's like one of the nicest looking things in the engine bay right now. But if you guys did like this video, definitely go down. Let me know down in the comments down below if you guys have any questions, or if I was able to help you guys out. If you are interested in picking up any of these parts or tools that I use, there's going to be a whole bunch of links down in the description down below for Amazon. You guys can hop on there and get all the parts and tools that you need to do this job, and a bunch of other stuff with this car. I actually have a playlist that this video is in, as well as a ton of other how-to videos with the Toyota Corolla. So if you guys do need help with anything else, I have a bunch of videos because I'm going through replacing like so much stuff on and around the engine, and even on the interior and exterior of this car. So definitely go check out that playlist. It's all for the 2009 to 2013 Toyota Corolla, so definitely go check it out. I'm going to have a bunch of how-to videos and a lot more coming, so definitely stay tuned for that. But if you guys did like the video and I helped you out, definitely go down and hit the like button down below and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And also, I really do appreciate it. But like, subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.